introduction day, but I edit. Okay, so welcome to Digital Graphics for Interior Designers. Again, I'm on our homepage, which is the syllabus page right now. And what I'm going to ask you to do in just a moment, if you haven't already, is to go to this Creative Suite download. But before we get too far, I kind of wanted to warn, just let you guys know that I actually record all of my lectures. And if you come down to, let me go to, am I so blind right now? Oh, it's not here right now. So it's right here in front of me. That threw me off my game. Okay, so under discussions, you will see that I have a YouTube playlist link. And this link is an old link. It's actually from another semester. But I kept it live just so you guys get an idea of how many lectures that we will have throughout the semester. Sometimes I break them up. And I love recording the lectures. They're not fancy, it's just a screenshot with me talking over it. But essentially what it allows us to do is if you happen to miss class, you can take responsibility, watch the lecture, get the assignment done. Not a big deal, okay? The other thing that it does is sometimes you're here, everything works perfectly, and then you go home and you're like, I have no idea what happened. Or sometimes you're here and you're not, whatever, we all have those days. But it's here, it's essentially notes for you. And the reason why I like using YouTube to post these, I tried it in my last class and it is just so quiet you can't hear it. I'm not sure what happened to my speakers. Do you guys mind raising your hand if you're still waiting for Photoshop to update and open for you? Okay, several of you. I'm just going to assume you can't. So while you guys are waiting for that, what I'm going to do is playing a video. You'll see that when you take your mouse and hover over the video, this little settings box comes up again. And I love this because if you have already gone through this entire class and you're watching it again just for review, speed it up a little bit. Take it up to 1.5, 1.75. My screen looks more 2 starts getting a little bit chipmunky. But last week when we were in class, but still, if it helps you just go through the whole lecture again, you guys can. The other thing you can do is you can skip around. So if you don't want to watch the whole lecture, just go to where you need to go, right? So this will be here for you. At the end of class today, this list will go away and it'll be our YouTube playlist. So you'll just see one, but again, I don't post this every day because it's a playlist. So what you'll do is you'll click on the link and then every time I add a lecture, it just adds a video here, kind of like a new chapter, okay? So this will change just a little bit. So again, I just wanted to give you guys fair warning that the class is being recorded. I do pause quite a bit. So like if there's technical difficulties, like in Revit earlier, it took us like 30-40 minutes just to get started this morning. So there's a lot of pauses. But again, if you have questions or personal things you want to bring up, you can always ask me to hit pause. I definitely use that right to pause my lectures as I feel necessary. And then the other thing that I wanted to do just before I forget, because this is our first time meeting, there are lots of events coming up and they are coming up quickly and they are extra credit events. So I wanted to let you know that on Thursday, sorry, is this Thursday? Yes. Am I saying that correct? Is that really Thursday already? I'm sorry, I have to look at my, that's tomorrow, that's right, okay. I can't believe tomorrow's the 28th and we just went through this. So tomorrow at Sugar House Park from 5:30 to 8:30, there is kind of like an end of summer barbecue that IIDA is hosting. And IIDA is essentially the National Interior Designer Association. We have a local chapter here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and our students tend to get really involved. So this is open to anybody. You can come bring your family. One thing that I'm going to try to do before I leave today is to post these in our discussions, same place where our YouTube list is, so that if you aren't bringing a friend or somebody else, that you can post in the discussion like, hey, I'm going to be there. I'll be there around 6. Anybody else? Or I'll be there a little bit later around 7. So I'm planning on stopping by. I live like 5 minutes away from the park, so it'd be lame if I didn't go. But I will come say hi. And then with these events, there's always extra credit involved. So it's nice just to have a little bit of padding in your grade if you happen to be late one day or have a late assignment. These are good opportunities to meet and mingle and, like I said, pad your grade a little bit. So tomorrow, 5:30 to 8, Sugar House Park. You don't have to come for the whole thing. You can just come for part of it if you want, if that works best for you. And then the other one is Thursday, and it's actually during our class, which is pretty crazy. So what I think I might do on Thursday is let you guys come to class a little bit late. So you guys can go. Does anybody have class right before this who isn't in Revit?
We don't have this class on Thursday.
Oh, you're right. We don't have this class. So, sorry, Revit is 2 days a week. I forget that this class isn't 2 days. I teach this class in the architecture side, and it's 2 days a week. Just FYI, next semester, this class will be 2 days a week. So, I've been pushing for it really hard, and they're finally like, okay, this class can be 2 days a week. I think it's better for all of us because last semester, this class was on a Monday. And if you can imagine how many Mondays we have off in the semester, I started calling it the fortnightly class because I'd see them once every 2 weeks. So at least we have it on a Tuesday. So on that note, it should be perfect for you guys. If you don't have class on Thursday, you should be able to go 11 to 1. My Revit class will be excused early so they can go take part in some of the festivities. And the reason why I really like this event in particular is that several of our students work at Workspace Elements. Workspace Elements works with other designers and even professional offices specifying office furniture. So like Herman Miller, Knoll, those types of lines. And they use AutoCAD at their office. And again, I just love seeing my students out working in the field. So if you want to talk to people who have been through our program and get to know some other interior designers, 11 to 1 on Thursday, right? And free food, guys. Come on, both of these events. Need I say anything else? All right. So again, first day, a lot of stuff being thrown at you. But let's go back to Canvas for just a minute. And remember, if you forgot any of this stuff, it'll be posted on the lecture that you can take a look at later. But just know the next 2 days there are barbecues for you guys to meet at. One of them is tomorrow night. The other one is Thursday during the day. But we will be doing all of our work on Canvas this semester. And I don't know how familiar you are or not with Canvas. So one of the first things that I like to do is to have you guys before the end of class or before class next week is just to see if you have, if you are familiar and comfortable with uploading an assignment. Okay, so there are assignments this week. It's this one right here, the 00 Creative Suite download, and the upload practice. We'll see how far we get. We might go through this other one, but I just wanted to let you know that everything that we do in class, whether it's exercises or assignments, will be up on Canvas for you. So when you come to class, if there's an exercise, it will be here, like this one. I have this one for next week, but like I said, we might get to it today. So you would just download all of these images before class. Okay, so everything should be in Canvas for you. Now, before I get into the syllabus and all of that other stuff, one of the questions I asked for you guys is, do you know what you're doing in this class? Like, do you know what you're in for? So what I wanted to do was just to give you guys kind of an overview about what this class is and what we're working towards. So in a nutshell, this class will be teaching you guys some Adobe programs that you will use to help express and communicate your designs. So the programs that we'll be working with definitely are Photoshop and InDesign. Any Photoshop or InDesign experience here? Okay, just a couple of you. Now I assume that nobody knows anything, and so your experience could help you, but hopefully I'll teach you something new. And we might be using something else called Adobe Muse, but we might save that for your final portfolio semester. We'll see how that goes. But essentially, we use Photoshop throughout the semester, and in just a few weeks, so this is our 6th assignment, so close to midterm but not quite there, we learn how to take different objects. You can see we've got a chair, a plant, we've got some artwork on the wall, a light, all of these, so the only thing I gave my students was this room, and they brought in all of the elements. And we use Photoshop to isolate, resize, skew, change the lighting, change some of the colors, so we can put together boards like this. And I love using boards like this because you can After you get comfortable, you can quickly put them together and then also quickly edit them. If your client doesn't like something, turn off that layer in Photoshop. You know, it doesn't have to be as permanent as this physical board where you can't like exit out. So these are two students who are actually in my Revit class. So my Revit people, these are Riley and Ellen's projects. No, Aaron's isn't coming up. Let's see. I'm just going to click on some of these. Unauthorized. Oh, I'm in student view. Whoops. When I'm in student view, I essentially can't do anything anymore. Let's try another one. There we go. So this is, again, so same room, different approach, and I love seeing what people come up with. Okay, so this person did a bedroom. But these next, like this next month and a half, what we'll be doing is learning all of the tools in Photoshop so that we can start putting these rooms together. And then eventually for your final project, I will give you guys a client and you guys are going to make a board along with a booklet that shows all of the furniture that brings your ideas together. So lighting, optional lighting, seating, optional seating. So really, I think it's things that you guys have done before in other classes, but you're using a new program to put it together. And I love this class because I think so many people just end up falling in love right away and then using it in all of their other classes. So I think it might not be intuitive when we start, but as soon as you catch on, I think it has the potential of just being really intuitive and working with you as a designer. Okay. So does this kind of help show you guys where we're going in this class? Right? So you will see the first few weeks, some of our assignments, if you saw on the YouTube lecture, I have like shoes and t-shirts, random objects that we start isolating, but then eventually we start moving into chairs, pillows, things that are more interior design related, but you know, we're just learning the tools to start. So that's where we're going in this class. And the way that the class is set up, I'm going to go ahead and put this PDF on our home page. I think is going to be the most helpful. I'm going to switch back over to student view. I'm going to skip through all the stuff I have to say. Let's just get into what the class is real quick. So you can see that this course is split up into different modules. So today's our first day, so it's just kind of like the course overview, Adobe overview. But starting over these next 2 weeks after that, we will be going over how to organize your file, how to start doing object selection. And so I know it seems really vague from just those titles, but every day when you come in, there will be an exercise associated with this and then several Photoshop commands that we'll learn that help us learn how to organize our file and select objects. So they'll be all tied in through Canvas. One thing that I have built into the class is I do transformations over several different, so a lot of topics are over several classes, and I do have a couple just lab days built in as well. And so I like to do it that way so that, you know, if we need to spend more time on a certain topic, we can, or if we need to move on, we can do that as well. So I have all of the assignments essentially loaded and ready to go. And as we essentially master one skill, we'll move on to the next one. So in your view, you only see these assignments, but as soon as I leave the student view, you can see all of the assignments. It's kind of waiting for us as we come up. So again, I unlock those week by week, and I could even unlock them 2 weeks at a time if I feel like we're ready to move on, or we'll just hang out. So that is the schedule. But again, I'm going to kind of, the schedule will vary just depending on how you guys feel comfortable. Any questions so far? Okay, so remember, this is just kind of a loose schedule that will let you know what we're covering. And all of the content, homework, exercises, questions are going to be on Canvas. Okay, coming back up here, there are certain things that I do have to say. So as far as where do you find me? So I am here on campus, and usually for this class, I have a class right before, so it's a little bit tricky to meet me before because I only have a 10-minute break. But I am actually here Thursday at the exact same time and in the morning before this class. So if my office hours don't work well for you, I just put here you can do it by appointment. And you can set up an appointment by just sending me a Canvas message. And I've written here that Canvas messages are preferred. My inbox gets inundated with so much stuff, whereas Canvas, I know it's my students and it's just tied to that class. And when you're in Canvas, you may not have sent Canvas messages before. Do you see down here where it says inbox? So that's how you send a Canvas message. And access denied, let me leave student view. The first time that I tried to use this, I was like, where am I? This little tiny button up here off to the right lets you do a new message. And look for our class. So we are 1250 and I'm your only teacher. So under teachers, you should be able to find me. Okay. And I usually like to get back to people within just a few hours. That's like my goal. But also please understand that sometimes it might take, at least a day or so to get back. My Mondays and Tuesdays are pretty hectic, but Wednesdays and Thursdays start to calm down a little bit. So if you don't hear from me Monday, Tuesday, it's just because I'm in class pretty much all day and all night. But then Wednesday and Thursday, I have my lab time to catch up. And again, this is the best way to get a hold of me. I'm so sorry, this is the wrong office. So my office is actually 307D. They renamed the floors and all of the classrooms about a year and a half ago, and I'm still trying to catch up. I'm like, where was this? So I will fix that. But my office is 307D if you ever wanted to stop by and see me. Any questions on how to get a hold of me? Okay. And then this class, we already talked about it a little bit. So digital graphics using Adobe software. Now, resources. The first resource I have is those YouTube lectures that we talked about. I don't have a textbook for you. If you don't like that, if that makes you nervous, if you really just love having a textbook, let me know and I can give you some resources. But really, I think that between the recorded YouTube lectures and just our in-class exercises, I think you'll be okay without a textbook. The other thing that's required is, I did not proofread this, not in Adobe Creative Cloud subscription. And when I found this out last week, I am not kidding you, I was trying to find a Santa Claus hat because I was so excited because this is the first semester. It was only 2 days ago that we found out that you guys are actually going to get, you guys can have a free Adobe license. And that's never been done before in our program. You guys have always had to pay for a student subscription. So we'll go over how to download it here before we leave, but how we access it here in the lab and how we access it at home, it's a little bit different. So I'm still learning, you guys will be learning too, but I'll show you guys how to access it before you go. Okay, now in this class, the class is broken down between exercises that we'll do together in class, and then I'll send you home to do an assignment on your own, which is basically the exact same thing, but it's worth more because you're doing it on your own and on your own time, okay? So exercises and assignments are the bulk of your points in this class, and then you get 20% for questions, and the questions are really just a way for me to reiterate the important parts of the class. So you'll go home and have some review. We don't have questions this week, just FYI. And then 20% of your grade come from your semester projects. So there's essentially a big midterm project, and then there's also a big final project at the end too. And then just as important, participation and attendance. Being here is really important to me. I know I record the lectures and put them online, but still it isn't an online class. So I want you guys to physically be here on time. You get docked if you're late, and then you also get docked if I feel like you're completely zoned out. Phones are so tempting, I know. I also have my phone right next to me, And so I completely understand if you have to glance down and see if there's a text, like an important text. But I think you can see within a split second if it's important or not. But I feel like if you're just zoned out and on your phone the whole time, you will lose those participation points. So don't be tempted. I only see you guys once a week, and so I really want you guys here with me when you guys are here. And then again, extra credit is, I try to make it as easy to get as possible, and they're usually through club and interior design events. Okay. I'm sorry that today's so lecture heavy. I don't like talking this much, but I guess it's just how it goes on the first day. So with late work, I do allow you guys to turn in your homework late, but only if you guys have let me know that you're not coming to class. So I don't want you guys to get in the habit of just not showing up and then turning things late. So I really like our classes to feel like a professional environment. So if we were all working together in a studio, I would want to know if one of my team members couldn't make it and couldn't do their work that day. So even just a simple Canvas message like, hey, I'm sorry I won't make it today, that is more than enough. You aren't obligated to give me any details or anything like that. Just let me know that you're not going to be here. And then again, all of your assignments are on Canvas and the lectures on Canvas, so you should be able to hop into that. So the way that it works is, let's say, remember, we only have this class once a week. So I assign homework on Tuesday, and it's due the following class, so the next Tuesday. Let me write this up on the board because I think it might be easier to see than to try and explain. So here's a Tuesday, here's a Tuesday, here's a Tuesday. So first week, second week, third week. I'm going to assign an assignment here on a Tuesday, and it's always due the next class. If you happen to not be here or something crazy happened, you couldn't turn it in here, this is the due date, and then anything after this is considered late. So this is kind of like the late period, but you can still turn it in. After that third Tuesday after, the assignment is essentially closed and you can't turn it in anymore. So it's always due the week after. You have up to an additional week to turn it in late, but then after that week, it's closed for the semester. And if you need to make arrangements with me after that week, just let me know. Okay, so that'll be the same with all of our assignments. That will just make it easier for me so that if you do happen to miss, I don't have to open it up, especially just for you. It just stays open for everybody. And I think that, honestly, all of my students have been really responsible. If you turn in an assignment late once or twice, it's really not a big deal. I hardly ever, just between us, ever even impose the late penalty. But if it becomes a habit, then I'll reach out to you and kind of let you know, like, all of these have been late, everything okay, let's try to get them in on time. And then I'll start kind of docking you for getting it in after the due date. Okay? Does that make sense how that works? Okay, I hope so. And then as the semester starts, if you still have questions, just let me know. But remember, you can turn in late work. Just make sure that you let me know that you're not going to be here, so it's not that you're just not showing up. One thing I always have to point out is that more than 2 unscheduled absences result in a grade deduction. And that's really just because you're not here for the exercise and you're not getting the participation points. So in this class, we only meet 16 times. So if you miss 4 classes, you have already missed 20% of the lectures. So 4 doesn't sound like a lot, but 2 is 10%. So you're already kind of like at a 90. And then once you go down from there, it knocks you down to 80%. So just watch out, especially in classes where you only meet once a week. It adds up quite a bit. Now, I don't think this will be a problem, but again, I don't tolerate cheating in this class. I don't think it'll be an issue, but just know that your work needs to be your own work. There are times where we will share things, but for the most part, you should just be doing your own assignments. So if I give you a room and you didn't have time to complete it, don't be tempted to take all of the furniture that you've isolated and give it to a friend so they can do something. They really just need to do it on their own. And that's been the hardest part about academic honesty, is it's not, let's say that I'm trying, like I'm in a pinch and I'm just completely overwhelmed. I'm not going to go to Taylor and say, Taylor, give me your homework. But Taylor, out of the goodness of her heart, is like, Naima, I see you're having a really hard time. Do you want my files? That's what happens most of the time. It's not somebody seeking to cheat, it's somebody just trying to help somebody who's in a bind. So don't be tempted, and that's part of the reason why we do accept late work, because we know that sometimes, most of the time, life comes up. I get 2 hours and 50 minutes of your entire week, so I'm just like a speck in your week, and I understand that there's things going on outside. So I am trying to be flexible. I don't want you to feel like you should ever have to be in a situation where you feel tempted to cheat. Okay? All right, and then incompletes, I just wanted to let you guys know this rarely happens, but it does happen once in a while. An incomplete means that you are basically here the entire time doing a really good job, and then right before the final, something may have happened outside of your control. It could be a medical issue. There's just certain things that come up, and so what that allows us to do is, instead of having you potentially fail the class because you didn't do the final, it allows me to give you what's called an incomplete instead of giving you a grade, and then we agree on a timeline for you to finish that final, and then you get your grade without penalty. So incompletes are really nice just in case something happens at the end of the semester. Okay? And then lastly, these will be your big semester projects. So I'm calling the first one Digital Architect or Digital Designer. So that's similar to the boards that I just showed you. You are creating a scene and rendering a floor plan to show a space you've created. We will also, towards the end of the semester, make a portfolio using InDesign from all of our little exercises in class. So it's kind of like prep work towards the final portfolio class that you'll be taking. So it'll be a round one of that. And then the other one, we're going to do a web publication of that PDF. So I don't want you to look at these and think that you have 3 finals. That's not what it is. There's one major final that we have here, and then we have another final that's the culmination of all of the work that you already have done. You're just putting it together in a book and laying it out. And then you're taking that book that you've already created and laid out, and I'm teaching you how to put it on the web so that if you are trying to get a job and you don't want to just send somebody a PDF file, there are several viewers online that allow you to go through a PDF like it is a book. It's really nice. So they all really tie in and feed into one another. So yeah, that's where we're going in this class. On the first day, it's hard to say any questions. I think until we jump in and you guys really get in, it's hard to start asking questions. But if there aren't any questions, I'm going to hop back into Canvas and talk a little bit about how to get Adobe Photoshop at home and how to use it here at the lab. Are you guys ready to move on? Go ahead.
So what, I have an iPad Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Can I run the Adobe on that, or do I need
Light.
to?
Like, you can't run it completely, but they have something called like Photoshop Express. They do have Photoshop for the iPad, but it's really different than what we do here.
Mm-hmm.
But I use my iPad to isolate stuff with my pen, and it's really fun. So you can bring it here and use it in conjunction, but you will need a desktop for it too. And this works on Macs or PCs, so either one.
A Mac or a PC?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, either one. Okay, let me switch back into student view. Okay, so again, I'm going to start off at the Adobe Creative Suite download, because this is going to show you guys how you can download it at home. And then in addition to that, when we're done with this, we will learn how you guys can access it here at the lab, okay? So when you're at home, you guys are going to click on this link here. And does anybody here already have a Creative Cloud license or anything like that? Do you? Okay. The only thing that's bad about this is that you can't connect the two. So this will be essentially what's called an Enterprise ID license. So it only works with your school ID. That's the first thing. So let me actually just come here and get started. But when you guys click on this link right here, you have to scroll down a little bit, but there's this header right here, how do I get it? So there's a link here where you will download the desktop application manager. And you don't need to do any of this here in class. In class, we already have it. This is just for home. And this will be the big thing. After you sign in, don't sign in yet, okay? What you want to do is down at the bottom of the little menu that comes up, I wish this is the image that they should have shown us right here. See how this pops up and it looks like you can sign in? Don't sign in. Click on this first. Sign in with an enterprise ID. We'll be doing that here in class in just a minute. When you click on this, it opens up another menu that looks almost exactly like this, but it has the SLCC logo. And you will be logging in with your Bruin Mail account. If there's anybody here that doesn't know their Bruin Mail account, let me show you where you find it. A lot of people didn't know when I mentioned this last time. So let me log back in. So by default, when you log into My SLCC, do you see that you have your Bruin Mail right here in the upper right? Okay. Do you guys see my address is being shared with me right here? So you might know that you have a Bruin Mail account, but you might not have any idea what it actually is because you might not use it. You might just use it for school. So if you need to know what your Bruin Mail is, it's right here. And then the password is the same thing that you would use to get into my page. Same thing that you use to log into your computers. Okay, so again, that's under my page. And then, so you'll put in your Bruin Mail, you'll put in your password, and then eventually you will have Creative Cloud downloaded and it'll look something like this. Okay, here in the lab, let me see if it's the same here. You guys can try this too. Go to your desktop. You guys can hit, there's a little Windows button in D and it'll take you to the desktop. Do you guys see this little Creative Cloud icon right here? Okay. If you double click on that, you can start the logging in process, right? So try to sign in with your enterprise ID. And what I noticed last night, that because I was at school, as soon as I put in my email address, it didn't even have me put in a password. It was like, oh, this person's an SLCC person, and they're already on the SLCC network, and it just logged me right in. I didn't even have to put in a password because I'm at school. When you're at home, because you're no longer at the SLCC network, it might still have you put in a password. Okay? So now, it's still populating for me. I'm going to give you guys a minute to do that before I talk about this next screen. So again, what I did, Adobe Creative Cloud, you might need a minute to hop on to find out what your Bruin Mail is, but I'm going to pause and just wait here for you guys for a bit. And essentially, this is what you'll see. You'll get it's kind of like another error. You don't have access to manage apps. And I'll explain. And then eventually, you will actually be signed in to this little menu right here. I know it doesn't look like much, but you'll be able to see Learn and Files and Fonts, like those types of things. And even up here, if I click on this little blue circle, it says that I'm Naima. Okay. See that a couple of you guys are having updates installed. Whoops. Just pull that over here. Right. So again, I'm going to pause this and just wait until you guys can get here. But if you guys wouldn't mind just taking a look at my screen for a minute, here's going to be one big difference between what you see here and what you see at home. So unfortunately here, when we go to apps, you guys, I think it'll say the same thing. Does it say you don't have access to manage apps? Okay. The reason why that is, let me pull up the download screen to kind of walk you guys through this. Give us a screen. Yep. So if it were working typically, it would look like this. So at home, it's going to look like this. You'll see a list of all of the programs that we need. If it isn't installed, it'll have the word install next to it. If it's already installed, do you see how it says launch? And there's another button that says update. So that means it's been installed, but it needs an update. Okay? Now, in the download, you don't need all of those programs. That's a lot of programs. So we only need Photoshop, InDesign, and Muse for this semester. Okay? Even just to start, we just need Photoshop. Okay? It'll be a minute before we get into InDesign and Muse, but really Photoshop is what we're looking for right now. So again, at home, it'll look like this. But here, the reason why you guys don't have access to manage your apps is that Creative Cloud is constantly being updated. And so last semester, what ended up happening is half the class was on one version and the other half was on another one, and then they'd even have the newest one at home. So it was impossible to try and work with all of the versions going on. So because of that, we've disabled it so that we have to manually update it ourselves. So every computer gets updated at once, not like 3 or 4 of them, and also at your discretion. So it's really back in our court. So what I'm looking for is, of course, there's going to be a couple more steps, but for this assignment, in order to get credit, I want you guys to give me a screenshot of Adobe CC installed, and that is this menu right here. So that shows me that Creative Cloud has been installed. It's okay if I can't see all of the apps, but I will, like at home, it will look different, like what I've shown you. Okay, that's one screenshot. Is that clear what I'm looking for there? Okay, so you're going to download it, log in, and I'm going to see this screen. And then the other screenshot is Photoshop open and running on your computer. So for those of you guys who have gone through the download, do this with me. I don't think the Photoshop shortcut is on your desktop. Do you see the little magnifying glass where it says type here to search? Just start typing in photo and Photoshop should pop up for you. And if you've logged in and your updates are done, it should actually open and not kick you out. Mine is still thinking. Was anybody able to get theirs to open and launch? I see some of you guys. Okay. I don't know where mine went, unfortunately. Let me try it one more time. Okay, there we go. So again, as I mentioned, this is a whole new way for us to access Photoshop. It's really just having you guys log into Creative Cloud before we launch it. So it's a new way, but the thing that's nice is what we do here at school is what you guys will be doing at home as well. So this would be your other screenshot. Photoshop is open and running. Oh, it's even saying, welcome to Photoshop. We're glad you're here. Okay. Now, if you guys don't know how to take a screenshot, that's what I'm about to show you now. If you're on a Mac, several of you guys might be on a Mac, and that's perfectly fine in this class, unlike Revit and AutoCAD. But if you are running a Mac and you want to take a screenshot, it is Control, Shift, and 4. And what happens, your mouse changes into a cursor and you just click and drag over the area you want to take a screenshot of. So again, on a Mac, Command Shift 4. But here in the lab, this is how we would do it. So let's do a quick practice. So everybody pull up this app manager for me. Okay. And now what you're going to do, in the search bar, type in the word snip. And you can use either one, Snipping Tool, thanks Cami, or Snip and Sketch. If you open up Snipping Tool, it's going to warn you that it's going away, it's going to be replaced. So either one of these works. I'll go to Snip and Sketch. They really do work the same. Everybody able to get the program open okay? Okay. And either one that you're working with, what you're going to do is click on New. And your screen darkens and you can see that whatever you're trying to drag your cursor over, that becomes your screenshot. So when I let go, see how it opens back up in that snip and sketch? If you totally missed it, click on New again. And again, click and drag and then let go. And as soon as you have that, go ahead. Did you guys see this little disk for save or Control S? Save that somewhere where you can easily find it. I'm going to throw it on the desktop. And I'm just going to call this screenshot practice. Anybody need help with that, or is that okay? You guys got it?
Can you save it also?
Yeah, so that I saved it as screen cap test or screen capture test, one of those. After you have it saved, we're going to come back to Canvas again. And what I want you guys to do, again, just to make sure you're comfortable, I want to go into the assignment upload practice. Well, let me go back to student view. So what I'm going to do right now is show you guys how to upload an assignment, because for our assignments, we will be turning in several files, okay? So with our assignments, I always have the instructions here. So this assignment is to help you, me and you verify if you are comfortable with how to upload assignments correctly and how a rubric works. Instructions and goals are typically included here, and grading and submission requirements are included below in the rubric. So to get points, I want you to upload an image of a space that you love, a building or space. So I'd prefer if you took the image, or it could be something that you found on the internet that you'd love to visit in the future. Okay, so you may not have gone here yet. So I'm looking for JPEGs. I want to make sure that the image is clear and not pixelated, so you didn't just like grab a thumbnail. And then also give me a description in the text box. So in this case, it's going to be one image, but also a text box. So if you look at the submission, it says text entry box or file upload. And here's the reason why I wanted to show you how this works first. First, you may have never done this before. It's been a while. When you go to submit assignment, so right now I'm working as a student, I'm going to go to file upload, and remember this is our practice, so everybody's going to do this. I'm going to go find that screenshot practice file and then hit open. But do you see behind it there's the text entry, so that's where I can actually write something. This is where my students always get caught up. So if you add the file and you don't hit submit assignment, here's what happens. When you go to your text entry, I'm just going to do write something here. Now if you submit, it only submitted the text portion of it. So under submission details, see how it just says write something here and there's no image? Okay. What you'll have to do, as long as the assignment is open, you can come back and you can choose the file, send me the screenshot. You can even send me multiple screenshots or multiple files, which is typically what we'll do, and submit it that way. Okay? And now I want you guys to see what it looks like on my end. So I'm going to leave the student view. When I log in, I always have a to-do list. So it looks like 2 of you guys have already turned something in addition to me. So when that 3 means that there's 3 things to grade. Let me come down to the practice. I'm test student. So you can see that, remember how I submitted 2 assignments? Here's the write something here. It warns me this isn't the most recent, but it's okay. I need both. And then under the rubric, if this is perfect, I will give you all of the points. And then I can come and look at the images that you sent me. Okay, and then again, I would go through, I'd give you the points. Let's say that this is a PNG, which is okay, but let's say that for the actual assignment, the actual practice assignment, instead of sending me a JPEG, you sent me a PDF, I might dock you a point and say, wrong file format. Okay, so I will never dock your points and not tell you why, right? And then clarity, full points for that, and then I hit save. And then what happens, if I have graded it, I get a check mark. If it hasn't been graded, I have that orange dot by it, or if it hasn't been submitted yet, it's grayed out. So again, at least maybe start with trying to submit the screenshot. I won't be grading the screenshot, but it's just, I wanted practice so that you guys understand first how to create a screenshot, and then second, how to find it on your computer and then upload it with your assignment. And then after that, really, I'm just looking for that space. And if anything comes up while you guys are working on the assignment, you can let me know. Like, wait, where was that button? How did you do that? How does this work? You guys can give it a shot now rather than when you're at home and I can't help you. Were you guys able to follow along okay with that? Okay, good. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and pause the lecture so you guys can see if you can at least get your the screenshot that we created in. And then I'm going to look at our schedule to see if we are ready to move on to the next part. Okay, I'd like you guys to check something for me. Down here at the bottom of your screen, do you see the little Windows Explorer menu? Do you mind clicking on that and opening it up? And then on the left side, one of the shortcuts should be called This PC. Let me know if you guys see that. Okay, I see several of you guys have it up. Now, you won't see it on mine, but I'm curious, do any of you guys see your My Page login name there? Yeah, Abby, you see yours? Do you guys see it as well? So down here at the bottom, under network locations, there might be a network name. So my name down here would be N-Nawabi. Do you see it? Okay. Good. So again, it would be down here somewhere, and it is the same name, username that you use to log into your machine. So if you are going to save things at school on the computer, that would be the location to do it, not the desktop. The reason why, let me tell you why. So Ashley, right? Do you see yours?
No.
No, it's not there? Are you staff by chance? Okay, we'll have to get you signed into our network. I don't know. Anybody else not see theirs? Oh, do you see somebody else's? Home. So sorry, under network locations, are any of these showing up?
No.
So you have to be under this PC to see it, and then under devices and drives. Anything? No?
She's just not logged in like on the computer to her SLCC.
So you don't have to be logged into SLCC, but you do, like when you first came in, did you put in your username and password?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She didn't.
Oh, weird. Okay, I don't know how you're even on, but so hold tight. Just hang out there for a minute, and then I'll get you caught up. But the reason why I want you guys, so first, when you come in, make sure that you are logged in as yourself. So like right now, I know this is hard to see. If I just hover on this, it says that it's Naima Nawabi. So that's the profile that I'm under. And once you're logged in as yourself, again, you should see under your network locations a folder that's just for you. And the reason why I recommend you to use that is that first, we don't know when they wipe the computers, which means that at random times during the semester, they just delete everything on the desktops, the hard drives, just because we have a lot of students in the labs downloading random stuff, so they get full really quick. And I'd hate for you guys to save your work here and then have it disappear when you guys come back the next week. The second thing is that let's say you save your stuff this week, but it doesn't get wiped. So 2 weeks later, it still is there, but let's say that somebody is sitting in your seat. So you can't get to your work because somebody's sitting there. The other thing about saving it on the network is that you can get it from any seat in here, and also any seat in the other 2 labs across the hall. So your work will follow you depending on where you are. So I always recommend using the network locations, or if you have a USB, Google Drive, anything like that, just make sure you're not saving it on the actual computer. David?
Can we access that from home?
I don't think so. So it's not a remote access one, but you can always take your work and copy it over to like Google Drive or whatever you might be comfortable with after. USB. There's so many different options now that you kind of have to find what you're comfortable with. The other thing that I'm trying to find out is typically we can just save it on the Creative Cloud drive and access it from here in home. That's how I work. But now with this Enterprise ID, when I look at Google, and again, it's been 2 days, it's saying I don't have access to Creative Cloud files, which I'm like, my whole life is on Creative Cloud. What are you talking about? So this will be something that I will look into to see if with our license, because people can get storage on Adobe for free. So I'd be really surprised if they're not giving us storage, but we'll find out. We'll see how that goes. So what I'd like you guys to do, I've got all of these files here that I want you to download. So in that network file, I'd like you guys to make a new folder and call it INTD for interior design, and then DG for digital graphics 1250. And I like to add F19 for fall of 19. You guys will only take this class once, but you might forget when you take it. I teach it quite a bit, so I like to know what semester it's from. And then once you have that folder created, make another folder and call it 01 for week 1. And so all of the stuff we download will go into that folder, so it's not all over the place. Now, if you have another organizing system that you are married to and that you love, please do it the way that you're used to. I just have way too many of my students saving everything to their downloads and then never knowing where it goes. And so that's why I just wanted to offer some organization. So again, INTD, DG for digital graphics, 1250 fall of 19. And then 01 for that folder. When you guys have that folder created, come back here to Canvas to the Exploring Image File Formats, and you can right-click on each one of these and do Save Link As and put it into that folder. If you are using something other than Chrome, like if you're using Internet Explorer or Firefox, it might say something a little bit different when you right-click on it. It might be something like Save Target As. I'm not sure, but so when you're done, you should have seven different files. Once you guys are done, what I'd like you to do is to let me know that you're ready. When you're in Photoshop, I'd like you to go to File, Open, or this Open button right here. And I want you to have the Photoshop file example JPEG open for me. We will start there. And this is where I'll meet you. So I'll take a look at my screen to let me know when you guys are ready. Okay, I feel bad. I can't see who is ready and who isn't, so throw up a hand. My previews are stuck back in Revit, so I'm trying to update. I don't want to make my system mad, though. It's working as good as it can. Does anybody need another minute to open this up?
I still need help getting the, like, logging in and stuff.
Oh, do you? It's really important for me that your screen looks like my screen. So, Ashley, right?
Yeah.
Have you been logged in? Not to Photoshop, but like you were able to sign in to your computer?
Not yet. I'm
Not
signing in
yet?
right now.
Okay, let me know once it's up so I can project again.
Okay.
So until you get past that password page, I can't project. But once I start projecting, what I'm going to do is show you guys what I want your Photoshop to screen to look like, so it will look just like mine. So that way when I go to click on something or point towards a specific tool, your screen will look just like mine. So the screen that you're looking at right now is really exactly how my screen looks right now. And it's the same way your screen will look when you're at home too. Got it? Okay, thanks. Oh no, now it's not letting me again. Let me try this one more time. Okay, am I back?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So Ashley, this is the part where you will have to catch up with us. I'm essentially just shutting some menus down just to start. So the first time you open up Photoshop, it has lots of menus open for you, and the menus are pretty large. So first, this Learn Photoshop, we are going to shut that down just because I'm here to help you. So what we're going to do is click on where it says Learn and drag it out to the side, and then hit the X button to get rid of it. Okay. You'll do the same thing with libraries. Libraries popped up to the top, so drag it, pull out to the side, and close it. Right now, it's not even letting us get on Creative Cloud, so we definitely don't need that right now. Everybody so far so good? Okay, now the last thing I'll have you do, see this little arrow right here? This either collapses or expands a menu. And to start, I kind of just like to keep my menu collapsed. I want as much real estate to work as possible on my screen. So this is where I'd like you guys to be for at least 2 or 3 weeks. And then once you start getting more comfortable with Photoshop, you guys can adjust the screen to look how you want it to look like. So on that note, sometimes what ends up happening is we totally lose our screen. So this will be something that you might want to write down to remember, or just come back to the lecture. But right now, our workspace is Essentials default, and if you lose anything, go to Reset Essentials, and that'll bring everything back exactly how it was. I'm actually going to name this new workspace NYMA 1250, just so I have it ready to go. So if I ever come in and my workspace looks like I've already reset the essentials, so it's mad. Let me reset. If it looks like this, I should be able to just come up to Window, Workspace, and find NYMA 1250. And again, I don't expect you to do that today, but in the future, once you get more comfortable with Photoshop, you can kind of find what menu works best for you. But for now, it'll help both of us if what I see on my screen is what you see. Ashley, any luck getting the SLCC picture downloaded? Just this one?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
Still trying to log back into everything.
Oh shoot, okay, give me a thumbs up when you're ready so I'll know that you're back with us, okay? So I just wanted to kind of explain the interface a little bit with you. So today we're not really going to be working with Photoshop, but we're just going to be talking about the files that we'll be using in Photoshop. So this first image that I've given you is just something that I threw together, and we'll come back to this in just a minute. But one thing to remember in this class is that we're not necessarily going to be graphic designers creating logos like this, like logos and graphics. But really what we'll be doing is we'll be taking different elements, you know, and logos like this, and putting them together in an image. I showed you some of our projects at the beginning of class. So we'll be taking lots of furniture, color palettes, things like that, and putting them together to create kind of a scene. That's really what we'll be doing here. And today I wanted to start talking about appropriate file sizes and where you can get them. So first, let's go back to File, Open. And I also want you guys to open RSL1 and RSL2. And then click Open for me. And you can drag your mouse to grab both of them, or if you hold the Control key and click on them, you can grab both of them as well. Okay. So you should have 3 files open now. Yeah, absolutely. Let me pause the lecture. When I pause the lecture, so on this first class, I wanted to give you guys a quick overview about the files that we'll be using. So one thing that I will keep saying in this class again, we aren't graphic designers. We are interior designers using graphic design software to the best of our ability. And so there will be things that we kind of make generalizations about rather than going in depth. And one of those things are the file types and the file sizes. So one generalization is that you have to know the type of work that you are working on. So for example, are you just doing something for it to be a like presentation? So you won't be printing it, but it'll just be screen projected. And if that's the case, if it's just a screen presentation, you can work at what's called 72 DPI. And we'll talk about that in just a minute, okay? It has to do with pixels, and we'll get into that. If you are printing, it is, I would say, 150 up to 300. So those are the range that we want to be in. And the way that you find out how big an image is first you go to Image. So everybody meet me at the Photoshop file example JPEG. And then once you're there, we're going to go to Image, and then Image Size. So I'll hang out here for just a minute. Did you get yours okay? No, or did it disappear, or?
Still, I download this right here, and then I go to click on it.
Well, what I will do first, in here, type Photoshop. We'll put the links on there in just a minute. First get Photoshop open and running again. Let's start there. And then you can start opening your file. So I don't know if it remembered your, oh, it did. And now click on Open, and then you can get it open from there. Okay, so under image size, there's going to be some information in here for you. And the first one is the actual, when it says image size, this is the file size. So how big is the file? This is how much memory and space it's taking up on your computer. So this is about 2 megabytes, which isn't bad at all. It's not a very big file. And as we go through and look at more and more file types, you'll kind of get a gauge as to what's big and what's small. So if we were to print this out, it would be 13 by 10. So it's a pretty big picture, right? But the resolution is only 72. So will it be a nice clean print if we were to print it out? Not necessarily, right? So what we want to do is, again, when we're working online, we want to make sure, because a lot of the stuff that we get will be downloaded off the internet from other people, you know, whether it's furniture, different types of finishes. We just want to be really conscious of our file size. So 13 by 10, we could probably still shrink down a little and have it look clear when we're printing. But if you have something that's only 2 inches by 2 inches and 72 dpi, that's when it gets really bad. So you want to watch out for that. So what I'll be looking for, I'm really curious for you guys to look at the difference between RSL1 and RSL2, and maybe just talk to your neighbor, but look at for each one of those, so RSL1 and RSL2, find the file size. The next one is the dimensions. Do you see how right underneath that it's telling you the pixel size? So look at the dimensions, and then also the resolution. Okay, I'll keep that right there. So resolution, 72 pixels per inch. Some people say pixels per inch, some people, I'm stuck in dots per inch. But go ahead and do that same thing with these 2 images. So again, image size, kind of compare the 2 of them. Okay, so coming back over here, first let me ask, these pretty much look like the same image, right? I know they look, they were both taken at RSL games, right? It's like the team lineup. But what did you find? Are they the same image, like as far as size goes? No. Which one is larger? 1, okay. 2 smaller. Is 2 significantly smaller, would you say? Yeah. So let me explain to you guys the difference between these files. And again, these are things that we're going to build on every class. They're kind of like Photoshop fundamentals. So this first one right here, RSL1, do this for me. Hit Control-0 on your keyboard with RSL1. Control-0 does a zoom all. So if you wanted to see a whole picture, fill up your space, it'll fill it up. And do the same thing with RSL2. After you do Control-0, take a look at the percentage of RSL2 versus RSL1. So see how this is only at 26% zoom and this is at 122? So what that's showing us is, even though they look like they're the same image, one is so small that in order for it to fit my screen, I have to blow it up to 122% of the size. Got it? So this is RSL2. It's that big, and I had to stretch it bigger than it actually is to fit my screen. Okay? The other example, RSL1, it's so big that I had to shrink it down to 26% for me to see it on my screen. You guys see the difference between the 2? So one of them is just so much bigger. The other thing that we could do, for example here, I don't know if this is the most recognizable player. This is Nick Raimondo. If you guys hit the V button on your keyboard, this is where we will be 95% of the time. V is move and select. And what you can do is hold the Alt key down and start rolling into his face until it looks like his face is filling up the screen. Okay. About what percentage are you guys by the time his face fills the screen? Over 100? Okay, close to 200? Yep, so I'm at 192. If I came in a little bit more, I'd be at 211. Will you guys jump into RSL2? Do that same thing. So hold the Alt key down. So first press V if you're not there already. Hold the Alt key and then roller ball up. Kind of zoom into his face and then tell me what percentage you're at there.
1,000.
Pretty crazy, right? So that's the difference between these two file sizes. RSL1 was taken, so my sister is a photographer for RSL. So when she gets her photos off of her camera or her memory card, this is how big they are. So this is a large file. But by the time she imports them into Facebook and Instagram, this is what they do to the images. They shrink them down so they can fit on the web. Because remember, that file size, it's taking up a lot of space. And so, especially if Facebook and Instagram were doing full resolution images for everything, that would just be a lot of memory for them. So it shrinks images down automatically without us knowing so that they're able to host everything. And typically it's not a big deal because if you were on the internet looking at something like this, you don't need that big of a file because you're not printing it off. You're just looking at it on a screen. Now things are starting to change a little bit. So Ashley, you mentioned you had an iPad Pro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if you have a Retina display? Maybe? Okay, so a lot of computers are starting to come out with something called Retina display, which means that they're moving from that 72 dots per inch, something like this that looks pixelated, and they're just adding so many more pixels so that even like your phones and your computers are starting to have a lot more depth to them. So I think, you know, these numbers will start to change, but we just have to know what we're working with. So if we find a small file, let's not try to stretch it out because this is what's going to happen to it. Let's let it stay. If we absolutely have to use it, let's let it stay the size it should be, you know, 100%. And if it ends up being too small for the project, we're just going to have to find another one. Okay, that's kind of the luxury that we don't have in this class, to photograph all of our own stuff. Okay, so these are the first kind of two examples that we'll be going into. Now, what I'd like you guys to do now is there should be 5 others in here. So go ahead and look, well, there's 3 more that we haven't looked at. Please look at these 3. We don't have to go into the Photoshop example yet, but open up iPhone, the Nikon camera, and this PNG, and compare sizes. 10. So with the 10, you can see it takes huge images. This is a 42 by 56. This is like not a big screen TV. This used to be a big screen TV, but it is a pretty big image. And so you can see here, I'm only looking at a quarter of it. So if I start zooming in, you know, I've got a long ways to go before it starts looking pixelated. So I'd be curious to find out how big of images your phone takes. You know, I'd like you guys to check that out too. This is one of our examples. Yes? The other image that I have is a Nikon camera that we have here that you guys are welcome to use at any time. So you guys will definitely use this in your final portfolio class. Am I not projecting anymore? No, I am. Okay, good. That scared me. So this image is also really big if you guys had a chance to take a look at it. So take a look at this resolution. It's 20 by 13 and 300 pixels per inch. So it's an awesome camera. You really won't lose any of the detail in your work if you use it to archive your projects. And at any time in our class, if you guys want to take photographs of some of your work, let me know and I'd be happy to bring it in. We have dedicated time in the other class, but you guys do have that resource available to you.
This photo really confused me.
This one did? How so?
Because I didn't realize there was a picture of. So I was like, oh, that's a cool picture. How you got it like that, and then.
Yep, it's a picture of somebody's project. And then the last thing here, so this isn't a JPEG. We've mostly been talking about JPEGs. This is what's called a PNG. And that is a different kind of file type that we use for the internet and also graphics. But you guys notice that this one has a gray and white checkerboard behind it? So I just wanted to point out to you, that doesn't mean that it actually has a gray and white checkerboard background. But this, whenever you see gray and white checkerboard, it means transparent. So images like this allow us, I didn't open the Photoshop file, let me just open this real quick as an example. It allows us to put logos in without a white background. See how there's not like a white box around the perimeter of the logo? So that's why transparency is just as important as knowing what the color white is. So now it's essentially you have black, white, and transparent, if we were going to be really simple about that. So Photoshop files can do transparencies, and PNGs can do transparencies, but most of the images that we see online and work with, like JPEGs and things like that, they can't do transparencies. So that's why a majority of this class is us trying to get rid of the background of something, even if it's something white. Because again, JPEGs, the files that we have the most access to, they aren't able to do transparencies. So for this week, we haven't even gotten into Photoshop files yet. We're going to do that at the beginning of class next time that we meet. But what I'd like you guys to do is, for your assignment, I want to see how big your images are on your phone. And so I want you to take an image on your phone, download it onto your computer, so you can either, download it by importing it into whatever program you use. You could even email it to yourself. And then after you do that, open it up in Photoshop and tell me what the dimensions of your image are, okay? So remember at the beginning of class I showed you how to do several submissions. So first you'll submit the photo, you could put it in the comments or you could put it in the text entry, let me know how big it is. And then I want you to go online and find an image. And one thing that you might want to know in your image search, so whatever you're searching, if you go to images, you can actually try to find large images. Okay? So you can see that these are like 1200 by 1200 pixels, where if I just did any size, that's 800, that's 300. So you can kind of narrow down what you're looking for, but again, the key is in that term, you're narrowing it down. The perfect image might be smaller than you would actually want, but you either have to decide how you're going to compromise. The compromise is either new image or just show it smaller on your board. Okay? So that's, and again, you can search anything. I just want you to try to find something online and tell me how large it is. And then last but not least, grab any image from social media. So social media isn't exactly the internet. I should have put internet search image, but you can go Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, whatever, and tell me how big those images are too, just so we can start paying attention to those things and kind of comparing them. It's really through experience, through the semester, that we really start to see what type of images work best or what might need some help. Right? And so let me do a quick recap. Let me go back home to the student view. So for this week, by the time you guys come in on Tuesday, we're going to start working in Photoshop. So that means that over this next week, I would like you guys to get the Adobe Creative Suite downloaded at home. If you run into trouble, just let me know, but I'd like you to have it installed by next week, or at least have a game plan to get it installed by the class after that. So again, let me know where you're at with that. You don't, with the exploring image file formats, we kind of went through that. Remember, this is going to be open until class, it's due by class next week, but then it's open until the week after, just so that you guys have that grace period in case you're not going to be here on Tuesday. And you will probably have to do several submissions because I'm asking for at least 3 images on there, so it's okay to do that. But that is it for today. We went through a lot. Like I said, when I only see you guys once a week, we kind of have to pack it in and take advantage of our lab time, but it'll make a big difference having you guys being able to have it on your own computers at home, iPads, and then even laptops. So when we get closer to doing selection tools, or at any point, if you guys have iPads, what is the Microsoft one called? Surface Pros, anything that has a stylus, if you guys want to bring it in and use both of them in class, there are some pretty fun things that you can do. So you can bring it in and I can show you how they work together, complement one another. Right? Well, it was so nice